And we are so happy to be joined by Pastor David Pileggi of Christ Church in Jerusalem, here to talk more about Holy Week and Easter. Hello and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me back with I-24.
It's a pleasure. And explain a little bit about, because I find it so interesting. So Christ Church is part of the Anglican Communion and the oldest Protestant denomination in the Middle East?
That's correct. The oldest Protestant church in the Middle East, or the oldest Protestant, continuous Protestant community here in the Middle East. And we've been in Jerusalem actually since 1820s, 1830s, and finally built a church, finished building a church in 1849.
And it's interesting, the mission statement, on the website, saying that it's really meant to be, bringing together a prayer house for all nations and sticking to the Jewish component also of the gospel. So explain kind of why you feel that it's a very uniting force for all three religions, especially being here in Jerusalem.
At least for Jews and Christians, and I don't mean to leave out the Muslims, but we believe that as Christians, we have something, of course, in common, hugely in common with the Jewish people. That is our faith that's expressed in the New Testament, which is built on a certain understanding of the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament. And of course, in the middle is the figure of Jesus of Nazareth, who was, of course, a very faithful Jew with a Jewish identity and a Jewish mission. And that unites us in a way, and it also, unfortunately, divides us. And in recent years, we've wanted to find ways to eliminate some of the hostility and misunderstandings that we as Christians have with the Jewish people, to try to walk back lots of anti-Semitic ideas that have unfortunately creeped into our teaching and preaching over the centuries and brought great harm to the Jewish people.
Right. And why is now, people like yourself and others and other, churches around the world in starting to, create, progress to kind of heal these centuries-old wounds? You feel like
well,
we've made progress?
We've made phenomenal progress in the last 40 or 50 years. And unfortunately, Emily, it took the tragedy of the Holocaust to make us as a community wake up to our responsibility, that we needed to work systematically and tirelessly to eliminate anti-Judaism, right, and anti-Semitism from the way that we understand the New Testament and the way that we practice our faith.
And have you found that part of that is through, even, I know just from the States, there are a lot of people that grew up saying we didn't even know there was an Old Testament, or, we came to Israel, the Holy Land, we didn't even know there were Jewish people here. So a lot was just left out. So what is that? Just in actually teaching a little bit about it, so just to kind of connect the dots?
Well, what we've endeavored to do is to, you might say, reframe the narrative. The traditional Christian narrative, which I don't think is wrong, it's just lacking. Generally, Christians read the first 3 chapters of Genesis. We read about the fall of the human family, the need for redemption, and then in our teaching, preaching, and Bible reading, we generally skip over the Hebrew Bible, right, and go to the New Testament. Well, in the process, we've left out 2/3 of the story, right, of God's dealings with the Jewish people, God's dealings with Israel, and consequently, we have been impoverished by that, because the Hebrew Bible is Torah. It's guidance, direction, and instruction. It tells us about the God of the Bible. It tells us about His character, His mercy, His demand for holiness, etc. And what we've tried to do is to reincorporate that, along with other Christians. We're not alone in this. Reincorporate that story and have a broader biblical narrative.
Right, providing a context. And now, as we're celebrating Passover, Holy Week, Easter now, I know that everything has been closed for the past year, but we're starting to feel life coming back.
Exactly.
What is it like for you to be here now for Easter, when we know that people will be able to come, even if people aren't taking flights from abroad and millions of pilgrims aren't coming every
Well,
year.
to use sort of a Christian, well, even a Jewish image, it's a bit like resurrection from the dead. I think the country feels positive, and we as a community feel positive, and we hope and pray that we've turned the corner and that community life can return to normal. Many people have suffered because of isolation and being unable to meet. Of course, we have many unemployed in our community because of the general economic situation created by COVID. So we're hopeful this Easter.
David, thank you so much for this interesting insight, and I want to wish you a happy rest of your holiday.
And we wish you and all of the crew at I-24 a very, very happy Passover.
Thank you very much, and we will be right back with much more from the city of Jerusalem after the break.